Hi there. I want to talk to you today about why well being at work is so important. In fact, it is the missing piece to success. And I see all the time people thinking that productivity and time management are where it's at, and delegation and building teams to have more people and more machines to do more of the things. And yes, all those things help and they're important. But fundamentally speaking, when well being is not taken care of, none of this other stuff is going to matter. Because guess what? No productivity hack is going to help you protect yourself from the mental anguish that you're experiencing. It won't allow you to put your best foot forward to be more productive. Your sanity comes before your productivity. Your sanity is what is going to boost your productivity. When you sacrifice your mental health for success, it is inevitable that there will be failure coming knocking on the door sooner or later. Sacrifice. You can have success without sacrifice. You just have to be very clear on what success looks like, redefine it, and be focused on the few things that will lead towards there, not being scattered all over the place, which can be really difficult when you have multiple roles and responsibilities and competing demands on your hands all the time and have hands pulling at you, needing something all the time. So I am so passionate about this. If you haven't met me, my name is Dr. Lizette Ojeda. I'm a licensed psychologist and a published behavioral scientist, award winning for my work on the intersection of DEI, well being, and career development. So this is something that I'm extremely passionate about, not just because the professional is also personal. Like, just to share a little bit about myself, I come up from an immigrant family background that sacrificed their self-care, their mental health, their family by coming to this country for a better life to give to their children. And thankfully, I hope I'm making my ancestors proud. For those sacrifices. And so it's truly a passion of mine to make sure that people work smarter, not harder. And people have that confused. They think that by putting in more hours, they think that by putting in more blood, sweat, tears, and years, that that is an indication of their commitment and their success level. But it's quite the opposite. And it's so interesting how paradoxically that is the case. Because you would think, and at least I was conditioned to believe, that I put in more work, effort, time, I get more results. And here's the thing. Yes, if I were a machine, but I'm not a machine, neither are you. We are human beings, not human doings, beings. And as human beings, we need our well being to be intact, to be protected above everything else. I hope that I'm conveying just how important it is to protect your sanity and not give it up for the sake of productivity. Because when you are not well, you are not able to put your best foot forward. When you are not well, you are not going to be able to be there for others. Your mind's not going to be sharp. Your thoughts are going to be all over the place, thinking about different things that are stressing you out, that are overwhelming you, unfocused, unmotivated, among a list of other things. But let me be more focused today, okay? Um, Listen, not having well-being at work is costing people, and I'm going to break it down to two things, two areas: employee costs and company costs. And then I'm going to talk about some things that I want you to take into account to be able to boost well-being at work, and what are the benefits of these. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So here are a couple of costs that if you do not take care of your mental health, what will end up happening I can pretty much guarantee you this. I've seen it time and time again. My research and others' research have shown this. So it's not just something that is made up. This is actually something that I have seen with my own eyes and also seen in the data. So we've got career stagnation. Listen, if you are not well, you are not going to be able to do your best work, which means that you then are having a hard time putting your best foot forward. You're going to struggle to be able to think clearly, to have a level of confidence and clarity that is required for you to be able to perform at your best. And so what ends up happening is years go by and you're still stuck at the same level. And you're wondering why you haven't progressed when you see other people who you think do not work as hard as you climbing up the ladder faster than you. And well, they're probably protecting their mental health more by not working as much, by spending some time to do the things that they need to succeed. That goes back to their mental health needs. Making sure that they have their doctor's appointments, making sure that they have their cup full emotionally, that they're making time for leisurely activities. So you'll become stagnant in your career. You'll wonder why it feels like you're on a hamster wheel, spinning your wheels in all cylinders, not really going anywhere, just letting out fumes. You'll also have dissatisfaction in your job. You will just see it as a paycheck, check off the boxes, do the bare minimum when you are someone who would go above and beyond, excited, eager, enthusiastic. Like think about the first day of work. It was something that you were really excited about, eager to make a contribution. And now you're dragging your feet. That is no way to live. Then there's lost motivation. Um, you really don't feel like doing much at all. If anything, that requires a lot of effort, you procrastinate. You will have a hard time being able to raise your hand for more responsibilities that could help you progress in your career. You may even have a hard time getting out of bed. That's when it gets really, really bad. You don't want to get to that level of motivation because then comes depression. Not to mention your poor health. So then you end up getting sick more often. When you get sick, you stay sick longer. And not only do you get sick more often, stay sick longer, but you feel worse when you do get sick more frequently. And then what ends up happening? Well, you're not able to show up and do your best work. Your success suffers. So those are some things that I want you to open your eyes to as real costs to you not taking care of your mental health. Now, when it comes to company costs, well, the list goes on, but let me mention a couple key ones. Absenteeism. Well, if people are not feeling good, they're going to not show up as often. And not because they are not hard workers. In fact, chances are that they've likely been working while sick when they should have gone to see the doctor. But it's gotten to a point where they can't push through anymore. And so sickness comes knocking on the door and demands their body to take a break if they won't do it themselves. So I've seen people even take medical leaves and actually not come back to work after that. Because they realized that the environment that they were working in wasn't taking their mental health into account and didn't have that in mind, that they didn't feel cared for. They were seen more as profit pushers rather than people. We also have presenteeism. This is what I see happen quite a bit, and a lot of people don't realize this is happening. And presenteeism is basically when they show up, but they're checked out. And so they'll be there on Zoom, cameras on or off, but they're not really there. They're disengaged. Their mind is distracted, or they're not really contributing anymore. They're just there, a warm body. just to say that they attended. So lost talent, lost ideas that gets suppressed in one's mind because there's no energy to really bring them up and bring them out and let a light shine on them and allow them to bloom, because blooming doesn't occur when there's bare minimum taking place, and there's bare minimum taking place because there is not enough bandwidth to do anything else but to be in survivor mode. So I'm all about helping people go from surviving and striving to thriving. And we don't got any thriving going on here. No, we're barely surviving. Um, Disengagement is also something that's really common. Not really showing up to anything extra, not really participating, not really contributing. And then this can also contribute to a toxic work environment because it's contagious. People rub off on each other. So if you've got a couple people who are feeling down, feeling anxious, feeling stressed, depressed, sooner or later it's going to be part of the culture. It's going to start with those people that they work next to closely, then it's going to broaden to the team, then it just gets broader and broader in terms of the impact of someone not having taken care of their mental health. Now, if they are a leader, well, imagine the impact that it's going to have on their teams, on the people that they lead. If they are not able to take care of themselves, they will not be able to take care of other people. And that will spiral out of control very quickly. So, all that said, I want to tell you just how fundamental psychological safety is. So, what exactly is psychological safety? Well, that's when a person feels safe to be seen, safe to share their ideas, safe to ask questions without feeling like it's a dumb one, safe to take risks without fearing that they'll lose their job, right? I mean, obviously, we want to take calculated risk, but there are some people who are so stuck on making a decision because they are terrified of making a mistake, because they don't feel safe to be trusted with their experience and their knowledge to determine whether or not to do this cost benefit analysis and determine whether it's a risk that's worth the potential gain. And so they're so terrified that it is not a safe place to be able to have the autonomy to do that. Now, again, obviously, we want to take calculated risk. We want to prepare our people as much as possible to feel empowered and competent, not just confident, but also competent in being able to take adequate risks that will pay off in the long run. They don't feel safe to speak up. They don't feel safe to advocate for themselves, ask for what they need. They pretty much stay silent and hide in the background. And this is unfortunate because you miss out on great ideas. And the thing is that people will try to protect themselves from pain than to possibly gain a promotion. And feeling psychologically unsafe is very painful. There are negative ramifications that can come from that. Retaliation for having said something that somebody may have not agreed with. Humiliation if somebody makes fun of them for having said something that they thought was, ridiculous, silly, or dumb. Their reputation is something that they want to protect above all things, and especially if they are from a marginalized community. And so they feel that there's an extra layer of need to protect themselves from the spotlight. So we have to absolutely make sure that psychological safety is put in place. Okay, now, if you've got any questions about any of this so far, I'm sure your wheels are spinning. If you showed up in the middle of this, make sure you go back and watch the replay, because I just am dropping some good stuff here. Okay. Now, I want to talk to you about 3 things that are really important for well-being at work to work. So we first have to destigmatize mental health. That means we have to stop making people feel like it's a bad thing to feel anxious, to feel down sometimes. We work in this culture, what is it? Hustle culture. We work in this hustle culture where anytime you ask someone, "How was your day?" "Oh, I was so busy." Or "How have you been?" "Oh, I've been busy, 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 busy." And it's like being busy is a badge of honor, but being busy takes a toll on your mental health. And a lot of times people equate struggle with weakness, meaning that if you are having a hard time with keeping up, if you are having a learning curve that is steeper than you thought, or you look at others and you see that they're having an easier time than you, and you wonder why you're struggling and not them. And so this starts to become internalized and you start to suffer in silence when really um, it's so important to be able to have that support from others to say, you know what, I've been struggling with this. It's been stressing me out. Um, what ideas do you have to be able to work on this? Have you been through this? What has worked for you? And so being able to destigmatize mental health instead of expecting people to show up as perfect human beings that don't have issues. We all have them. And I always tell people that you only have a front row view of people's peak performance. You don't have a backstage pass to all their tears, to all their stresses and rejections and failures. And so people feel a need to show up as super duper human beings. And it's time we destigmatize mental health and normalize that it's normal to feel anxious every once in a while. But it's not normal for it to be chronic, for it to get to a point where it's debilitating, for it to be consistent and comprehensive in all areas of your life. Like, that is not okay. And so we need to be able to normalize the need to take care of mental health. Take a mental health day, for example. So that's why leaders need to lead by example, not only you taking care of your own mental health, but to talk about prevention, right, of mental health issues, because prevention is less costly and time consuming than intervention. And so we want to be able to prevent mental health issues from surfacing to begin with. Um, with that, you need to be able to then recognize the red signs of distress. So you need to be able to destigmatize mental health for people to even be open to recognizing the red signs. Because if we don't feel like something is okay to do, then we will try to not look at something. But if we feel like, okay, it's normal for me to feel anxious every once in a while, for me to feel overwhelmed every once in a while, it's destigmatized. There's no shame there that I bring to myself. Then I'm going to be more willing to take a look at what's going on here. And that's what's required to be able to recognize when you're dealing with some mental health issues in the first place. Distress looks like not having an easy time sleeping, tossing and turning. Distress looks like heart beating fast, sweaty palms, feeling very nervous. Distress looks like, feeling down, sad, blue, depressed. Sad is normal, but when it gets to be where it's a more days than not type of thing, and when it's so intense that it's hard to even get out of bed, we've got a problem. And we need to do something about it. So being able to recognize these red signs of, am I sleeping okay? Am I having a hard time? That's a red sign that you're in distress. Do I feel anxious when I walk into a meeting or when I talk to someone? that's an indication that you're experiencing distress. If you are feeling like nothing fulfills you, that's a sign of feeling depressed. So there are so many different pieces that I can name a lot of different red flags, but you have to be able to recognize when something is off. And when something is off, it's typically your mental health is suffering. All right. Now, I talked about destigmatizing mental health, recognizing the red signs of distress. Now, let's talk about prioritizing self care. And I'm not talking about a bubble bath or a massage or getting nails done or even a vacation. I'm talking about something that is sustainable and strategic, because these one offs, they're nice and they feel good in the moment. But how many times have you gone on a vacation feeling really excited about an upcoming vacation that you planned out, and finally you get to have some downtime, and then you go on the vacation and hopefully you didn't bring your laptop with you, and then you come back and it's like you didn't take that vacation. It's like, where did that calmness go? I do not feel rested and rejuvenated and reinvigorated. I thought I would. Why not? And what is wrong with me? Nothing's wrong with you. It's just that these one and done self-care strategies, that's not the solution. It needs to be sustainable. It needs to be built into your day-to-day routine. I hear you. You're probably, but Dr. Lizette, I ain't got time for that. Well, listen up. It's not as hard and time consuming as you might think. It's also a non negotiable. And I need you to take this so seriously, because you may be sitting here right now and thinking, oh, I'm still, I'm still young, or I still have it in me and I'm okay. Yeah, I'm struggling, but it's not that bad. And you're minimizing your mental health. You're minimizing just how hard things are because you've become accustomed to this being your new normal. And sooner or later, this is where burnout comes into play. Sooner or later, before you realize it, one day, your body and your mind says, enough. You're going to keep pushing me? Well, I'm going to stop you now. And that's when things get really bad. And I don't want to see that happen to you. Okay. Any questions about this? You let me know, and I'm happy to answer them. Let's talk about some employee benefits whenever you take care of your mental health. So you will notice more happiness at work. Your executive presence, you will feel more secure in how you show up. You will show up more often. You will speak up more often. You will feel like the leader that you are, that who you are represents the title that you have and the roles that you're responsible for, the demands. You will have more of an influence on other people. And people don't realize that people can tell when you're not doing so good. And you cannot possibly influence other people when you are not taking care of yourself. Your confidence will skyrocket. There's enough energy inside of you to show up at your best. But if you are in struggling, surviving, and striving mode, you're not thriving, and your confidence will take a toll. Now, company benefits of having well-being in the workplace. Well, people talk. So you will attract more talent, higher quality talent. So there's talent attraction, employee satisfaction, job satisfaction. They will feel satisfied with the work that they do and who they work with, and they will feel cared for, which makes them more motivated to put in their best foot forward. There's also retention, and we know how expensive it is to lose employees and replace them. So we want to make sure that your top talent and leaders are well taken care of. Their success is dependent on their mental health. Their wellness and success go hand in hand. Performance, influence, executive presence, happiness, meaning, fulfillment, all those things matter. They're all related to mental health. So I know I covered quite a bit. um, and yeah, I've given you a lot to think about. If this is something that you want some help with, contact me. You can send me a message, and I'm happy to talk about what your needs are and discuss how I can help improve well being at work for you as an individual or for your teams or company as a whole. Take care.